Yeah, so every now and then we're probably going to be switching for the people that are and I'm going to go back to you on that in a second, Javon. But for the people that are viewing and see this audio, we just want to let you know that we're changing a few lights and changing the scene every now and then. Feedback is super important, so we'd appreciate it to join this. Anybody that's listening to audio right now, which probably has not happened yet, we're still working on that to either bring it to Spotify or SoundCloud. So just bear with us on that, okay? Much love is definitely appreciated. So, y'all, let's see if y'all were right on ages. That's the thing. We were going to get right to it.
Mm-hmm.
How old did you say? How old are you, Javon?
I am 28.
I am... Well, actually, I'm gonna go with you on that because I thought for you, if I didn't know you, if I just met you, I'd say you look like 22. Yeah, like solid 22.
I'll happily take that.
And I am 29 myself. We're both turning 30 this year.
You are turning 30 this year. I'm turning 29.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
Yes.
That's right. I'm sorry. I was just so fixated on the fact that I'm going to be 30.
I mean, we basically
I was like,
are both
I
turning
wanted to
30.
take you. I wanted to just take you with me.
I'll be there, and before you know it, trust me.
Yeah, man. I don't know. Stuff like that is just so scary. I feel like, well, to some people it's scary, but I guess it's just based on how you feel. I was teaching this 40-year-old, and he was all like, oh, when you get my age, you're doing, and I'm like, you hear all these things of the people that they just start. It's like, oh, I'm in pain. I'm going through these whatever. I'm like, okay. So he's old and feeling miserable.
Uh-huh.
And then a month later, he just kind of tapped out of that mindset. Now he's like doing jumping front kicks and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, what changed? And he's like, I don't know. I just kind of stopped acting like a wuss about it. And I'm like, that's a good mindset. So what makes you get out of your 10-hour? What makes you get a good head on straight for doing those 10-hour days? It just sounds like it's a mess.
Regardless about how you act about the day or how you feel, the same result will happen regardless. So I might as well have a nice smile on my face.
Yeah.
And tell myself it's gonna be okay.
How do you handle horrible people, like customers?
Luckily, I don't need to deal with that.
You don't got to deal with that?
I get to deal with their vehicles.
Oh. Who do you deal with? Who do you have to deal with that comes close to a person? Like that can be like a ugh.
Well, there's like a middleman between the customer and us.
I like the way you're saying this. Yeah, I like the way you're handling.
The middleman would be a service advisor. I'm good with all of my service advisors, though. I like them all. If you guys are watching, some
dealerships are just not it. The reason I ask that because like, do you apply that to martial arts too? Like, with, let's say, a student that gets frustrated that you feel like they're not learning enough, or a parent that communicates in a very abrupt manner during the class or even after class. Because this whole week, I know earlier I was talking to you about it.
Uh-huh.
This is something we were going to bring up, and I just wanted to bring it immediately and just kind of get to the point about, like, as an instructor, we all have our own lives, and I just want to point that out there. It's not just, I mean, teaching can be our lives, but outside of that, there's another life. We deal with other people just as much as anybody. We deal with traffic. We deal with bad weather. We deal with car issues, I'm sure. So it's like some people just kind of have to take, and I've listened to what you said way back when it's like take life with a grain of salt, just kind of like how things go. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
So how do you handle situations depending on what it is? Here, I'll give you one. Okay, so you're doing a little kids class, right? Okay. You got little Johnny, 8 years old. Okay, he's all over the place. I'm sorry, he's 7 years old. And 7 is kind of like the max out period for like when it's time to level up the kids, and based on my experience. So problem is little Johnny, and by the way, I'm not using any real names. You got little Johnny causing issues for like the last couple of for the last year. Just 6 to 7 years old, just constant irritating the class, disruption. You can constantly reprimanding the kid, but when he does the drills, he does it really well. Now you got a parent come over here, and you got going up to you after class, going, my son, despite his like banter and like his behavior, he does really, really well in the activities. I think we should move him up. I think he's really good. I think he doesn't want to be in this type of class. And what is your answer? How would you handle that situation? Now remember, this is a kid that's been like a year of like constant, like he just started. Let's start off with that. He just started and it's been a year, but for the whole year, you've been constantly trying to reprimand this guy, like trying to redirect him. I'm not reprimand. I'm not going to use that word. You're constantly redirecting the kid.
Okay.
No results. But when the activities start, he's always working. He's right there constantly. How do you handle that?
I think there's variables inside that.
Okay.
Are we talking like he does everything perfect besides like his attitude? Is that what we're trying to
when
get
the game
at?
starts, he's in. He's locked in. But like after the game,
behind the scenes, it's just doesn't.
Yeah, like for some
during
reason, it's
regular
just it
classes
ain't
and
clicking.
stuff before it's a promotion, like promotion time, he's ready. He acts like
Promotion,
10 out of
you'd
10.
expect them all like that.
10 out of 10.
Yeah, but we're
then
talking.
in class prior to it, the lead up, he's not.
Yeah, we're talking like
Okay.
normal class. Like before the activities begin, you got to be like, "Yo, Johnny, come on, dude, Johnny, we talked, man." Like, how would you talk to the parent? Like, what would you say to the parent in that moment? So it's like, again, the setup is I got this parent that watches their kid in the activities, they crush it. But after the activity's over, they're not listening for jack crap.
Mm-hmm.
How do you handle this?
So-
How do you talk to the parent?
I feel like if the parent was asking if he can move up, right? Because
Yeah.
why are we not promoting the kid to the next belt or however it may be, depending
Yeah.
on his style and all that.
You look camouflaged into the blanket.
Do I look camouflaged?
It's
Sorry.
actually hilarious.
It's kind of cool, right? Just a floating face.
It's cool. Go ahead, man. Go ahead.
So I feel like it's a delicate way to put it, and the reason why I'm overthinking it and I'm not answering it right away is because I'm actually putting myself into that scenario right now in my head.
Okay.
And I would have to pick and choose my words correctly and wisely because it's very easy to have a conversation like this and really give off the wrong impression, right? So,
Yeah. Everybody, but here's the thing. I think in this kind of scenario, everybody's going to take something differently.
Yeah. So
That's some banana bread.
so basically, the short, quick answer, which you're trying to get across, which I'm just going to say in the blunt way, and then I'll say it the way I would like to say it. The blunt way would be he's not ready because he's not 100% there, only because he's 50%. He's only 50% ready because he has his physical ability to get promoted, but his emotional and mental is not equal with his physical, if that makes sense, right?
That's a good answer.
So,
Okay. You're saying his physical attributes are good, but it doesn't match with his mental attributes aren't matching up.
correct. Yes. Now, and I'm not saying that like he's going to be always balanced in that aspect, which I think we mentioned in the last podcast as well, is that you're not always going to be balanced. You might be a little higher in another, but the other one has to catch up. But you said that it's been a full year. So considering it's been a full year, there should be some type of progress or even just the slightest, like, okay, he's getting there. But you're saying that he's completely zeroed out on that scale, but then 100 on the other. So I think honestly, if I was to talk to the parent, I would say that sometimes it needs to be martial arts is inside and outside of the dojo.
Yeah.
So if he gets put into the scenario, right, and you're saying, okay, it's promotion time, he's getting watched, he's going to do his best, right? But then when it's not that time, he's not going to show it. Then that means he's doing it because he's in that atmosphere. So the way I would word it is to the parent is he has to show these attributes throughout when he's inside the dojo and outside of the dojo. He has to show that this is
good answer, man.
turning
That's
it.
good.
It has to be him
Yeah.
inside and outside,
Yep.
if that makes sense.
Yeah, no,
It's
I hear
not
you.
putting on the front like, oh, I know how to do this, let me show them. It should be, this is me, let me show me.
Mm.
Let me show myself in how I portray this art and how I enjoy this, right?
Representation.
The representation of it.
Yeah.
Yes. So, and as you see, I'm not really giving the best quick answer like, oh yeah, these are the words I'm going to say. This is probably
No, this is
the
good
way I
because
would
this
explain
is
it.
because I'm sure some parents wouldn't understand that. Some parents would sit there and be like, "But my child is so good. Like you can see that they clearly are there." Sure. Were you still going to answer though, or?
I feel like that hopefully hits the point on that.
Okay, because I was gonna say like for like I agree. I agree that like in senses like in a sense like look, kid's not there yet, like not mentally. The thing is, I always listen. Here's the thing: a good martial artist always puts things into practice, like any scientist. Like I told you in text, I texted this, and I think, in my opinion, I would be like, okay, if that's what you think, let's put him in the class. And I'll tell you what, if we'll give him, let's see, 2 strikes. Give him 2 because I'm not going to do 3. Because a lot of people need their attention just like he does, like Lil Johnny. I'm going to say, look, we'll put him in next class, all right? Usually I would just kind of throw him in on the spot. I'll be like, oh, you want to do it right now? Like, it's about to happen. You want to get you in there right now? You just did this class. He might get tired, whatever. He might be energized. Few things that could happen. One, they're probably going to be older. So they're probably going to have a little bit more mindset, and you might actually more have like people that are like, and the difference between an 8 and a 7 and an 8-year-old are so different. I can't explain it, but like mentally, it's so different. So I would be like, all right, Lil Johnny, let's go into the class. Say like the next day he goes and joins. Probably going to happen one way or another where it comes down to like, he goofs, he thinks what he does is funny, the normal natural thing, but then you got not the response you get, especially at an older group, where you got people actually learning forms and not just like the games with the hidden actual technique behind it. It's not like actual fun. It's like we're gonna have fun, but it's gonna be a little bit more serious now. So you got Little Johnny flossing over what he's doing, and then and then you get those people looking at him, and then he goes like this. This is the one thing I liked about martial arts. You can just get the kid coming on in, and then he's like. He goofs, right? He goofs. He realizes he's not supposed to do something. It's not just like, it's not just like messing up in front of your friends most of the time in Dragons or Tigers or something, like, because the natural kids that usually get in trouble, that's common. But then it's like when the natural kid becomes a new member of the class and then immediately gets in trouble, that's almost embarrassing for that kid, and they know it, they feel it. So they're like, they shrink. They put themselves into that, oh snap, maybe I shouldn't have done this. You know what I mean? So it really just messes with it really plays with the mindset of like, oh, maybe I shouldn't do this. Maybe I shouldn't. The other thing is they can continue their behavior because if they think they can get laughs or get distracting in the Dragons class, they can probably do it there. You know what I mean? Sure, they got all the games right, but then it's like, all right, boom, you goofed. We got to bring you back. But that's the thing. The thing is, once you put him in, it's hard to get him out because that can either make a lot of things happen. You could either do what you did, which is like he's not ready yet, and then that could just be like a little bit more patience and more brain development, or you can test the brain development and actually force it onto the kid immediately by joining the level 1 class, you know, or not level 1 class, the white belt class or the orange belt class, whatever that may be. So I think both answers are valid, but there's always going to be like some outcome, like the pros and cons. Your mom's going to have a talk with him. Okay, Master Lopez said you got to step up. If you want to go in the next class, you got to step up and actually mentally ready. You're physically ready, but your mental abilities are not there. All right, check this out. Mr. Massey said, all right, look, you gotta step up and actually, you're in the big boy class. You can't be messing around now. I'm not gonna have you get pulled back in the Dragons class. No, it gives us time to actually prepare for you right after school. So we're gonna wait. You're gonna eat. We're gonna have time to ourselves, and we're not gonna rush to class because it actually does parents a favor. Sometimes the Dragon classes start at like right when school's over. They just come flooding. They have to go get their kid, and then they have to go all the way back. Sometimes they're stuck in traffic. Sometimes their whole 3:00 afternoon is wrapped around getting their kid to karate. So it's like I can understand why that'd be an issue, but. I just wanted to know how you would handle that because I was thinking about it, over the week, and I was like, it could go either way. It could go left or right. But have you ever had those issues like with here's another issue I wanted to give you too. With teaching. Okay. You're teaching a class. And hold on, guys, give me a second. I'm sorry. I just want to make sure I'm not looking like Kirby over here. It's a lot of pink and a lot of blue. I don't really know there's much that I can do about it except kind of adjust it in the settings when I edit it later today.
So the way I would initially answer that, let's assume the question was, okay, I blocked the punch, I countered the punch.
Yep.
And his question was, what happens if he counters the counter? Right? The answer would be to counter the counter of the counter.
The counter of the counter. That's a good answer.
Now they might be like, well, how? It's like, then I would give you an answer. I would be like, you could try this. And they might have like the endless whys, which I've had the endless whys. And sometimes you just have to say it is what it is for what you're teaching at that moment. There's endless answers as well as there's endless questions to any type of self-defense.
There's always going to be that, yeah.
The reason why self-defense may or may not work is because someone has to make a fall. It's like a game of chess, right?
Yeah, it is like a game of chess. Well said.
So
yeah.
It's really like both are equal until someone outsmarts the other.
Yep.
So let's assume I'm teaching a self-defense move where it's like, okay, he thinks he has the upper hand. The attacker grabs and he throws the punch. He's like, I'm winning, until the other person counters, blocks, and counters them. That could also be still a 50-50 split because he could still counter that, and now he's in it at the advantage.
Now,
right?
Is this what you're saying to the 8-year-old?
No, this is what's going through my head as I'm thinking.
Okay.
This is so.
That would have been awesome. I mean, I would have loved that explanation.
Have I done that? Yes, I've done it a couple times
too.
It's a little bit easier to teach the teenagers that way, but I would try to see where, the kid's head's at. Maybe he actually does understand it that way because everyone's different, right? But basically, I would say that, okay, you counter, boom. Oh, the counter got countered. What do? He would show me an example. But you could try this, you could try that. Why don't you do this? Well, does it work? Give it a try.
Yeah.
Does it work? Oh, yeah, it worked. Cool. Then you can do that as well. Because just like in any forms, that maybe the kid knows, let's just assume he's is he a beginner?
The 8-year-old, probably like an orange belt.
Okay, so let's just say he knows just top of the head, let's just say he knows four forms, right?
Yeah.
And he knows certain moves in the forms. I'll say, well, think about let's just say the move is like something that could be applicable to the form. Maybe it's an attack that you're defending in the form. I would say, oh, well, you know this form. Do you know the bunkai of this move?
Bunkai.
And the bunkai would be just basically application.
Yeah.
You'd be like, oh yeah, well, I don't know what this move is, but I do remember this move. It's like, okay, well, try it against that. Oh, okay, cool. That works. So see, that's exactly what you're doing. That's why you're learning this form. Now you know the defense.
Yeah. So you're I hear what you're saying now. That makes sense. So your initial thing is like basically going, follow this application. Like there's a reason why we're doing this kind of thing.
Yes, because it simplifies it for a younger mind.
Okay, so
because they know the motions and the patterns of a form, right?
Yep.
And they might know it, and they might know the application of it, or they might not, even if you told it to them a bunch of times. The one time that they actually really realize what it is when they're able to apply it in a self-defense situation.
Okay. That's why the repetition is there. Give them something to see. Like by constantly practicing the self-defense.
Yes.
The thing is, how about somebody... Well, okay. So that was a good answer. How about a 16-year-old? Somebody that... All right, check this out. And I'm probably going to like speed this up because...
That's fine.
I want to... The reason why I'm saying this is because a lot of times there's students that just think they know more than the teacher, and that's great that they do. However, when it comes to a sense of respect in what we're teaching, you don't... I feel like some people don't always have to just run the class and get... Some of them are excited, and they just feel like they want to spread the information out. And that's a future teacher probably. Mm-hmm. But it could also be just an arrogant son of a bee. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So that's why I say like the ages are important. Like an 8-year-old, what if? Imagination goes crazy.
Yep.
16-year-old, they kind of understand. They're a little cocky. They think they know stuff. Like, oh yeah, I would probably kick your ass, stuff like that. Doesn't mindset. 24-year-old, you're probably kind of getting, and like those guys are probably like throwing like, oh well, what if you tried this? And then they actually start getting physical and stuff. And then you got the older gentleman that always, every single time you explain a defense, they go, you know what? I'm sorry. You get these guys. I was a pro wrestler back in high school. I don't know what it is, man, but no offense to all y'all wrestlers
Are you
out there.
trying to say that by the time we're 32, we're gonna sound like that?
No. What I'm
We're
saying
only
is,
almost at 30.
no. You and I have a different mental mindset. But when it
Okay.
comes to people that just are so full of themselves and are so arrogant, but are paying other people to learn martial arts, but then have the audacity to say that they know more is ridiculous. So there's like class interruptions. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like there's always ways of redirecting people, but then there's going to be such a limit where you're going to be like, dude, you got to go.
Mhm.
And I don't know if you've ever came across those things. That's why I asked you, like, let's say like 16-year-old,
Okay.
the one that's that's cocky. Like I would do the same thing with the 8-year-old. I would tell them to study the application. That was like literally what I was thinking.
That was a short answer that I should have said.
For me, it was like for a 16-year-old kid, if they some of them are really hyped though. Those 16-year-old kids are like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I got those handwork, you know, I'm gonna be, they always get cocky. And
Well-
it's confidence. What are you gonna say?
Confidence could turn into cocky, especially around the teenage years.
Yes, that's what I was gonna say.
I've been there.
We've all been there.
I've done it. I've also taught it.
I lived it for a way
Like,
long
I mean, I
time.
taught kids that were like that. The way that I would attack that is by humbling. Because let's assume that they're already a black belt at that age. Let's just say this is the same the same 8-year-old that's now 16, right? He stayed throughout the whole time. He's a black belt now. He has some type of issue with the self-defense, and now he's cocky, and he's like, well, that's not going to work because of blank. I saw this. I don't need to do that. I could just do this. It's like, okay, well, that's great, and that's good. Hopefully that works if you needed to use it, but then I would show them a different application where it's like, okay, well, now try this. Now try to take that move and defend it with this.
Yeah,
and then they mess up, and then you realize, or they would at least realize, it's like, hey,
like, oh,
this
snap!
This is the reason why this might not always work. It could work in certain instances, but you also have to still be humble, because as soon as you think you know everything and that you're confident that this is going to work, that might be the time that it doesn't.
This is good because now we're getting closer to the ages, and it's starting to make more sense. You got the kid that's curious, you got the kid that's more talky, and then you get the older you get, you can get a little bit more physical because you've been doing it longer. So now we're approaching the 24-year-olds, right?
Okay.
I like the humbling idea. I've done that too.
Mhm.
I'm like, all right, cool, let's go. And then they throw a kick and you block and you hit them really quick. And they're like, guess it didn't work, but you could try it again if you want. You know what I mean? In those moments, I feel like as the teacher, it's kind of, I don't want to say one up the kid.
I would consider it's tough love.
It's tough love.
It's like,
really
look,
is.
I have if you're not gonna understand it by me trying to explain it to you, I gotta show you.
I feel like they get more touchy because I feel like they're cocky. They speak a lot and they go, here, grab me. Here, try this. Here, try this. They'll start like telling you to do it, and then they just suddenly become the teacher. Like we're doing another self-defense, and we're doing grabs against the wall. I got this guy. He comes up to me, and this is how he goes. We're doing Krav Maga, and he was telling me while we're doing the punching bag, he was like, no, you want to move first. She knows what she's doing, sure, but you want to have a little bit more footwork before you punch. So he's teaching me while she's telling me to do the opposite. So it's like I'm learning, and from my experience, I never had that where someone was trying to like change what I was teaching. I never had that. But what my instructor did, she got in his face, like in face, and said, do that, get out. You're gonna do that in my class, teach them something else. That's great, but I can hear you constantly trying to change it. You're gonna do what I say or get out. And it's like, sure, it can work for him, but it's not that class to try it. Secondly, you need to know your place. If the teacher says do it and you're in the class, do it.
Yeah.
It's not that hard. It's not, oh, what if we tried this while they're doing that? It doesn't matter. If the other person isn't down for it, don't do it. And if the teacher down for it, definitely don't do it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That's just I don't know what you would do, pick on that. But
in that scenario, I do respect the fact that the person is trying to elaborate and or maybe even find a better way to take the application and
You should feel that more.
and go with it, right? So let's just say, like you said, he's taking what the teacher said to do, and he's like, well, this will work a little bit better.
Yep.
Okay, that's all fine and dandy. That's a good thing outside of class. Outside of class. So that's the key word, because you don't, like you said, you don't want to insult the instructor's teachings, because
That's with anything.
maybe even his idea is better. Let's just say even if it's better, right? That's good because he found something that works better for him. But guess what? If it works good for him, it might not work good for you.
Right.
Because we all have different bodies, right? And we all are programmed differently. So maybe it would work better for you as well. You don't know that. But the reason why the teacher's teaching it the way that he's teaching it, I guarantee you, he taught it a few times, to say the least. And he thought about it a lot. And he probably tailored it towards the class, whether it's by age, rank, or whatever.
Yep.
So it's probably the best all-around version of that technique
Of what he knows.
to apply to everyone, so
true.
therefore everyone can benefit.
Right.
So you don't want to insult it by saying that's not good enough.
Yeah.
Okay, well, maybe you found a way to do it better, but guess what? Overall, everyone is going to benefit from this. And if you want to take it and basically elaborate on it in the future to make it a little bit better for you, that's great. But don't insult the teacher with his teachings and saying that they are wrong, or even just going to do something else while he's trying to instruct
Yeah.
the basic idea.
Yeah, well said. It's so annoying because an older gentleman, for example, you can figure out who those people are if you do enough of the teaching. If you do enough of if you just, you're in the class long enough, you talk to enough people, you just kind of, I hate to say it, but it's like, I mean, I don't hate to say it. I'm glad I can say it. You can read people so easy, especially as an instructor. You can just kind of read people's body language. You read their confidence. You read if they're humble. You read if they're cocky. You can just tell based on, it's almost becomes such a natural instinct to have it in second nature to kind of just read people and like how they act. Some people still throw me off every now and then with a curveball, but the guy, he's like in his 30s. He was teaching a Saturday class, and this is all true, but names are not going to be said. But we're teaching Krav Maga, right? Teaching to the students, teaching a little bit of like what I learned. And it's a Saturdays, whatever. We didn't have a plan. My instructor at the time just said, do whatever. So I said, okay, cool. So I did a little bit of up against the wall work, right? So what happens if someone pushes you against the wall and decides to like choke you? So we're talking about like grabbing the lapel under the radar. If you were to grab me with two hands, I grab and I slip under, and then I work my knee strikes and stuff like that, right? So then boom, after class, everybody did great. We all did fine. And then guy comes over to me and just, it's oozing with this. You're just gonna the look on your face is gonna change, because the guy goes I was watching what you did with the up against the wall, man. Oh my god, I gotta help you. I gotta help you out. That's the look I made accidentally. And he was like, I don't want to insult you. I'm like, bro, you literally just laughed. You said, I gotta help you. Who does that? I don't want to insult you, but I'll laugh and say I gotta help you. So
yeah, it's trying to cover up something you realize you did.
It's bull. So like
Bull,
he comes up to me and he's like, this is what I want you to do. So I'm ready for whatever, right? This is nonsense. This guy, he's trying to counter my attack or my defense. He's saying my defense was bull. So I did it. Now, mind you, we're teaching 12-year-olds. We're teaching 9-year-olds. Do you really expect me to send my hand through a child? So it's like,
you don't.
when I'm doing the defense, I'm sorry, but this is the way you teach. You show them this. There's ways I could have handled it differently, for sure. But he said, all right, now escape. So he grabs me hard. He's grabbing me pretty hard. So I went, boom, I slapped him upside the face. And as I hit him, he tried to throw me over, but his momentum, because he's like trying to throw me, because my body's like this, and then he throws me. So as he's doing that, I stepped over, 1, 2, Gicho Young Ilbu, you know, that big turn?
Yep.
That big turn, 1, 2, I used that momentum and I used that technique and I combined it with my Krav. So he grabbed me, he throws me, I went, boom, went onto the ground. I still got his arm like this, his hand is like this. And he's like, you weren't supposed to throw me like that.
Oh yeah, he was supposed to drag you across the wall.
Yeah, so it's just like, listen, dude. I said, you all right? All right. I'll be like, yo, next time, show me. But I gotta wrap it up. So next time. And then I never saw him. He was always picking up his kid, but the mom ended up just coming, and then the mom was like, I don't know what happened. I guess he's changed his hours. Told me that his hours changed. I'm like, maybe he just didn't want to come anymore and see it. But like it's insane how much like that changes someone's personality or like mindset. Like that's the first time in a long time. This maybe happened like 4 years ago. But like the audacity, bro's older than me. Like sure, I am going to take it with a grain of salt and say like, dude, maybe you do know something.
Yeah.
But when you actually almost tried to put what I was doing into practice, because bro grabbed me for real, I slapped him, it completely threw him off guard. I don't think he was expecting me to hit him. I don't think anybody would expect, if someone is willing to put their hands on you, I don't think they're willing, I don't think they're expecting you to fight back.
Yeah.
That's how I expect it. Now, if someone was expecting that they were going to fight back, they'd probably do more than just grab you. They'd probably grab you and then hit you so you don't have to hit back.
Correct.
So he was grabbing me. Maybe he was grabbing me hard to get the feel, but I slapped him because I needed to show this guy I'm not going to play a game where I'm going really slow and he can do what he has to do. If he's going to grab me legit, I'm going to hit him.
Yeah.
I'm going to throw him down. Be like, hey, you wanted to see, you laughed. You said you wanted to help me. Looks like I have to help you up. So it's just, that's just my, I don't mean to be cocky about it. It's just, that's what happened, you know? But I don't know if you dealt with anybody like that. Because that's...
Not to that extent, no.
I can't believe I had to do that. It's just, it's not what I wanted to do. It's just in that moment, you feel like you got to put this guy, like, you got to shut this dude up.
Yeah.
I hate that feeling like that.
Because let's just say, for example, there was, I've been teaching for a while, and I've been teaching since I was a teenager. And I've been, not as much currently, but when I was younger, I actually taught people double, triple my age kind of often, which felt really weird because you might outrank them, but you see them as the adult, especially when I was 14 when I started. Imagine a 14-year-old teaching someone that's like 38.
Yeah,
like,
dude.
Wow, like I shouldn't know more than you, but I do, I guess, in this scenario, right?
It felt interesting. Teaching a 50-year-old seems very
almost
honored.
back.
For me, it feels backwards, but it's an honor for me to feel. I feel honored, but I don't want to overstep.
Yeah,
like correct the old man.
There's like respect of age, but then there's respect of the art that you're trying to teach. So when it comes to that, let's just say I had a person who was older than me and they don't outrank me, so therefore technically I would know more than them in whatever I'm trying to teach, at least. And you know, that could go so much which ways, you know, they may know different styles or whatever, but at least what I'm trying to teach in that class, supposedly I know more, right?
Yep.
So I'm trying to teach a throw of some sort, and let's just say I was taught one way, specifically by a certain teacher or something like that.
I'm listening.
And then you would have another person who's older, not as high as a rank, same teachers and all that.
Yep.
But then let's just say they did a different style that also had a different variation of the throw, right? So that's pretty common amongst a lot of different martial arts. A lot of them share certain things. And I teach it one way and they're like, oh, well, you know that this way is actually better. And it's like, oh, you know, it probably is. Yeah. That would be my answer. I bet you it is, but I'm going to teach it like this for now. And if you would like to do it, then by all means, please give mine a try. If you know a better version for yourself, I guess it works that way for you as well too. Yeah. You know, as long as it gets to the same end result. But I would not let that person try to change what I'm trying to teach in the class. And I would do it. I would put him down in a respectful manner, not physically.
This, by the way, I just want to clear it up for people that are, for you and the other people. This was a one-on-one, the guy that I took down. So this wasn't in front of anybody.
Okay.
This was just, he after everybody left, he came in and just wanted to remind me. So that's where I got like annoyed. Because he wanted to come in to actually tell me that I was wrong, which I respect, but it's just like rude. But anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No,
Continue
it's
what
okay.
you're saying.
But yeah, basically, I would just tell him it's like, oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Good for you. Basically, that's the quick answer. It's like, oh, great, awesome. I'm glad you know that version.
Yeah.
Does it work for you? Yeah. Okay, great. I'm gonna teach it this way. This is the way I learned it. I'm gonna teach it this way.
Yeah.
And if they have a problem with it, then now there's an issue. Now it's an actual problem.
Yeah, because now
it's like, hey, look, you don't need to overstep your boundaries. There's a reason why I'm instructing in a class. If you're going to take the class, you have to see who's the instructor. And if you want to teach the class, here you go.
Yeah.
Make my life easier. Go teach the class.
Yeah.
Oh, you don't want to teach? Okay, well then just take my instruction. Then you don't need to apply it in your own training. It's a suggestion.
Yeah.
Most of the things that we do, specifically like in this scenario I'm trying to give you, like with self-defense, is like everyone's going to do something different in a real life scenario. No one's going to be exactly the same, no matter what. Even if they all learn the same exact moves, they're not going to pick the same moves. So it's a suggestion. Maybe you like it, maybe you don't.
Yeah.
Okay, if not, at least run through it. Now it's another thing in your arsenal. That's the way I put it.
Seriously.
Just an extra thing.
Some people just got to learn how to just back up.
You know, an extra bullet in the chamber.
I've definitely now. Okay, how about this in your POV? Say like you're learning something. Okay.
Okay.
There's an excuse, there's a reason, there's a yes sir, there's a yes ma'am. When I'm learning something, maybe it was a couple years ago, I can get I don't know where it came from. Maybe I can get like a little anxiety from like learning new things.
Mhm.
I don't know where it is, but like martial arts is supposed to be something natural to me, something I can actually pick up on. And I'm pretty confident saying that martial arts seems to be like something after, years of experience, you know how to pick up on a few things.
Mhm.
Sometimes it's the transitions, like learning old school Tang Soo Do self-defense that we're actually applying certain things and putting it into practice can be a little hard for me versus grounding and pounding, flipping locks and stuff like that. When it comes to like disengaging the fight more than staying in it, that's hard for me. Because if someone throws a punch, like there's this instructor that was teaching me how to if there was a punch, I can show this on screen. If I have you stand up really quickly, and if I have you have your arm directing to me like we're fighting like this, you clinch right here.
Okay.
You go 1, 2, and then from here I send over and you go into the wall basically. So you would be here, I would step, and I would use momentum pulling this part into the wall. And for some reason, that was so bad for me to figure out. And during that time, I kept telling somebody like this. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm just not used to the motion. I mean, I'm like doing that laugh to make myself feel better. And then suddenly I start getting quiet. And then suddenly like I just start getting paranoid and anxiety feeling. I felt like I wasn't getting it because there was this new piece of information getting sent to me. And then I'm learning something else now. There's another technique. Maybe I figured it out, maybe I don't. But like I'm starting to get it. But the hard part is for me, I was getting the nope, that's not it. Nope, that's not it. And as an instructor who teaches saying that and then hearing it back, I don't know, it bothered me. But in that moment I'm trying to figure like, man, this sucks. It sucks going back to my roots, being told from somebody else that I'm doing something incorrect when naturally I feel like I should be knowing what I'm doing. But now I have to take a step back, and now I can't be like, well, what about this? What if I turn this way? Maybe am I asking because that makes myself feel better, or am I asking because I really want to know? And that's the problem with certain things that I struggle with if I go back to being a student at times, because I don't know if I'm going to ask the question or make a impulsive joke just to make myself feel better, like, oh yeah, I would do this, but my back, or like I talk like people would be like in class. I'm sure if you heard people like communicate about themselves during class just to kind of like ease the tension of themselves, like, my knee's hurting, but we'll get through it. Or I'm just trying to focus on bending my leg a little bit more because I'm focusing more on my pivot than I really am on my punch. It's like, dude, just listen to what I'm saying. Just, you get what I'm trying to say?
Yes.
So I don't know how to often process it. And sometimes for me, I remind myself, hey, you're learning something. Throw everything away. But it's hard to in that moment, because if it's like how much knowledge I know, And I go back to that saying. My mom always says, empty your cup, empty your cup. Bruce Lee always said, empty your cup. But I often think, I don't think I'd ever challenge it. But I'm asking you, like, I've obviously got better like on how I handle being taught and stuff. But when you're being taught something you don't know, and it's new information, and it's something that you've been doing for years, and an instructor kind of looks at you and goes like, that's incorrect. And it's also about how they address you being wrong in that moment too, versus someone can go wrong, and that could be like, whoa, versus, hey, let's try to make this look a little bit better. You know what I mean? How do you handle being corrected?
So basically, in a sense, it would almost be like we're the 32-year-old.
Yeah, I guess so.
That's why I smiled, because I just thought about it. I'm like, I think that would be us at that point.
We're at that age where it hits.
No, I was just saying, like, hopefully I'm not gonna get stuck like that. But
I don't think we're stuck up like that.
Well,
I think we're we're good.
Basically,
Something
the
like
way I would kind of flip it around is literally flip it around in my head. It's like, okay, well, this is what you instinctively want to do, but then think about if someone did that to you, and then you're like, wait a second, I know exactly how I would handle that if someone did that to me.
Now you
it's
become
like,
the student.
Now the teacher becomes a student, the student
Yeah.
becomes a teacher. Like, you start to think about it both ways. It's like, well, I wouldn't want to do that to me, so why am I going to do that to him? So the way I would think about it is the same way I would answer the last question, which was, okay, the teacher's teaching something, even if I know something better, or even if I do know something that's similar or something that I can add, I don't know anything at that moment. Because
you want to be a white belt. No belt.
Because the teacher's right at that moment. Even if he's wrong, he's right.
Yeah.
You know, like, he's laying down the law that is law at that moment. So whenever there's something new taught, and even in my head, if I'm looking at it and I'm like, I wouldn't do that specifically, or I don't think I like this move,
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna just say, okay, you know what? Maybe I don't like it yet.
Yeah, I like that. I don't like it yet. Yeah. Because you don't got the feel for it.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah,
Maybe
yeah,
my
yeah.
body needs to learn something new. I've been doing this same move for the past 10 years, and now you're throwing something new at me, and it's like, wait, there's more to that.
It's like, wait, now I actually have to flick my wrist?
I could do that. And your body,
I
that's
could
what
do
your
that?
body's asking. Your body's saying,
I'm allowed to do
that's a thing?
things?
Really? Wait, how do you do it? Now your body's confused too, because your body and your mind are working simultaneously. So maybe your mind is open, but your body's like, huh?
Yep, your body's just kind of like tweaking out, going like,
and then
I've
you're
never
trying
done
to
this
tell your
before.
body, like, do this, and then your body's like, no, it's not supposed to be like that. And then that's when you feel weird. You feel off balance because you're fighting with yourself internally.
You are, yeah.
So the hardest thing to do when you're learning something new, especially after doing something forever, is to just shut off everything, meaning your muscle memory in your brain. Just turn into a sponge and just basically.
I emptied a cup. If people didn't see what I did, or like
Yeah.
there was like a brief silence, it's just quiet, and then you hear exactly. So I just poured nothing. Out
To
of
be
my
honest,
cup.
I was actually thinking that there would have been like a little drip that came out or
I was.
something.
That's why I looked. I looked up. I was
Wait a
like, I don't know.
But yeah, so that would be my answer to that, I guess. It's like, we just, and I struggle with this too, trust me. But just from like doing different arts and then trying something new, I try to brace myself a little bit to tell myself, hey, you know, sometimes the best knowledge is to know that you don't know everything, and to tell yourself, like, I guarantee that there's something else out there that could beat this or that.
Yeah.
And I like to remind myself that, because that's how I continue to grow, because there was a portion where I felt like I did know a lot of majority of the things that I did or was supposed to know. And then you realize you have no growth. You go stale, you plateau. And if
Go ahead.
you don't mind me
No,
adding
go
to something,
ahead.
and this is
I
for,
started.
like,
I think I started venting.
that's okay. And this is a part of the this is for teachers out there, and for honestly anyone, but specifically teachers too, because I find myself doubting myself, especially the more you learn
I
and
don't
the more
ever
you
respect you doubting yourself. Really?
well let's just say you thought you were doing everything right, but then you realize that everything is open to
change.
at any second, so
Yep.
therefore you're never right, you're just adapting, right?
Yeah.
So technically you could teach something and that could be wrong and it could be right.
Yeah,
but you
'cause-
can't prove
yeah.
it either way. Well, you can't prove that it's wrong and you can't prove that it's right. It just is.
You could put it into practice.
You can put it into practice, but it doesn't always work. So therefore, it would make you doubt. Like, wait, should I teach this? Because it's not foolproof. It's not always going to work. But what I was going to just suggest
What's the word?
say
Innovative.
innovative.
Yeah, is that the word I'm thinking that you're probably using right now? That you'd be.
Well,
What
what
the
I was
words you're
going to
saying?
say specifically is, as a teacher, when you're teaching something, even if you know that it might not always work, even in the scenario that you're trying to portray it in, you must believe that it's going to work as you're teaching it.
Yeah.
Because your class and your students, doesn't matter what the age is, they're going to be able to sense the doubt in your teaching.
They do sense doubt. Not gonna lie.
And then
Yeah.
guess what? That's when you're going to get all the questions. Like, well, does this work in this? Because they're going to think that, okay, he's teaching this, but he himself is kind of doubting it. So why is he doubting it? Let me start asking him questions. But if you show them that you
Yeah.
believe it and you show them that it actually does work, it could work. Because even if you're to do the same self-defense move in that exact scenario in real life, if you don't believe it's going to work, it's not going to work.
Yeah. Or they might ask questions out of like, holy crap, that worked. What else could work? So it could work both ways. They'll
That's
ask
the
doubtful
optimistic
questions.
way that you want them to believe.
Yeah, they'll be optimistic if
Yes.
you do it the right way, and they'll ask optimistic questions, but I feel like they'll ask more of doubtful questions if you do it when you're doubtful.
So you don't want to be doubtful whenever you're teaching something. You want to be sure that it's going to work, even if you know it's not always going to work. But in that moment, you're going to say that this is the time it does work.
How long should you practice something before? Oh my god, we're actually crushing it on like all these convos. But like during a practice, how long do you think you should practice something before you throw it out into the field? Like I'll tell you, I can't stop thinking about martial artists and scientists being very similar, because they put their hypothesis in, they put it into play, they could be wrong, they get a conclusion at the end of the day, and they put it into practice. They put the work into practice. You were going to say something. Go ahead.
I was literally going to mention that.
Really?
Kind of along the same
Putting it
lines.
into practice?
Well, just like everyone's done science projects before,
At least, yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You got like the hypothesis, like you have a theory, you put it into practice. You have to prove it, what, three times before it could actually be considered a factual thing?
I think.
Is it 3? It's been a long time.
Julia,
Don't
you
blame
can
me.
look that up and
But basically,
confirm.
I remember at least trying to prove something right at least 3 times before it could be proven to be true from your original idea, right? So I would try it 3 times, write it 3 times, write it 3 times, recite it 3 times, do it 3 times, try it 3 different ways. If it checks out, it's going to work more than likely. But this is obviously, if we're still talking about like a move to defend yourself with.
This is just like a simple, like,
In general,
how can I grab this person correctly? Is this lock? Is this lock a lock? Will they not move? Can this pin them down? Stuff like that. Like what redirection can get them off me? Something like that.
Yeah.
And then you put that stuff into practice. Anything you're saying is exactly what just came out of my mouth.
yeah, I would
Yeah.
say that I would consider myself, if I was to practice something new, if I could do it 3 times in a row perfect, then I think I've learned it. Not saying that, oh, the 4th time is going to be perfect. It's not guaranteed. But I think that means that's a sign that your body's showing that you got it for the most part.
Yeah.
That does not mean you should stop and be like, okay, I know it. Let me move on to the next one. That's the opposite of what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Is you're trying to prove to yourself that I got this. Let me work on it in a future time. You spent, let's just say, 25 minutes doing it. You don't need to spend an hour doing it at that moment, because you're not going to gain that much more knowledge on it.
Yeah.
Once you have the knowledge to do it perfect, then guess what? Now do it in sets. Do 3 sets.
The
3
repetition
sets
again.
of whatever.
Yeah.
You could do 3 sets of 10. Let's just say you throw this guy. Okay. Throw him 10 times in a row. Take a break. Throw him another 10 times in a row. Take a break.
Yeah.
And then each single set, switch it up a little bit. Okay, maybe he's going from a punch. First time it stands still. Second time he's taking a step. Third time it's a sucker punch and he's running
I was
at
thinking
you.
that, like, the first
right?
time could be a counter, the second time could be like 100% with a grapple. Like,
One's fast, one's slow, you could do it multiple different ways, but either way, you're training yourself on the same move, but in different aspects. And then you get to see how it applies in real life.
dude, I'm sorry when I say
Basically.
this, but I've heard a lot of instructors say never go against a knife, and I agree with that. But I want to put something into practice where you're defending. I think anybody could wield a knife. I think anybody of all shapes and sizes. I think if you have a knife, you feel pretty strong. My height, I could probably take out Brandon with just a good few swipes. Brandon, he'd kill me. It's just physique matters. If Brandon really wanted to
He's
run,
a large guy.
Brandon's like,
Not fat. He's just big. He's a big dude.
he's like Bane from Batman.
Yeah.
If like wanted to point it out there, but like, if he got one hand on me and another knife in his hand, like he had one knife in his hand and then he managed to grab me, I'm dead. Because it's just like, I've been trying for the longest time. You know, you go against people that normally have like the normal step, like I come at you, yeah, or the Michael Myers, yeah, stuff like that. And it's just like, there's gonna be control behind that. I want to learn the practice of like, we should get full gear, and I'm serious when I say this, we should get gear one day, like the full body suits, and we put paint on the knife, and I'll come at you hard and you come at me hard, and we find a way to practice and see what we're doing wrong, or we have Brandon in the bodysuit, for crying out loud, because I would rather practice with Brandon, because that dude is like when I say giant, guys, like he is a strong giant dude.
Pretty sure he was in episode 3.
Yeah, you guys go see
Was it
episode
3?
4.
4?
Yeah,
Okay.
go see episode 4. He's a big guy, and he's his muscles. Bro's got muscle. And it's like, that's just his build. That's just his natural build. Bro's like Maui from Moana.
Yeah.
But like, the reason why I'm dragging this all out is because I'm saying that there are people that you don't know who has a knife. And if someone Brandon's height grabs you, and it's over. It's just bum, 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 done, done. That's it. Done, done, done. I didn't mean to say that. But that's why I want to put into practice knife work. Because knife against a gun, I'd rather go against a gun than a knife. In my opinion, a gun just goes straight. A gun goes straight. A knife carves you like a pumpkin. And I'll run against a knife. Sure. But it's like a gun, if a gun's right in my face and I have to defend, either way, I feel like worst thing can happen with a gun. Sure, you get shot from a distance.
I was going to say you would die.
Yeah, you get shot, sure. But I mean, like, if someone has a knife, the chance, the thing is with a gun, they would have shot you already, for starters. If they still have the gun at you and their intention was to kill you, they would kill you. I think they'd be too scared to shoot you. I think that's all they have to rob you. Will you do what you have to do and give them money? Sure, give them the money. You're just getting the gun offline. With a knife, it's like, if that knife is that close to my throat, or remember, they have to get close to you.
Yeah.
So it's like, also, mind you, they could be up to, and you could, I don't know if you ever had this happen to you. I've had this in a scenario that you know personally 6 years ago. But I was in a situation where I had a certain object up to my neck before, and I had individuals break it off, and it's scary because I'll tell you, y'all don't know what it's like to have like an object against your neck. Like, you feel the pressure. Like, it's pressure. This isn't just your average karate lesson where it's against your throat and wow. This is like, I can feel the blade or whatever
like
this
it's
is.
almost already cutting into you.
It feels like it's cutting. And the scariest thing about that moment is, if I move my body,
It just
will that happen? Yeah. So it's like, you have to be so careful on how you handle a knife versus a gun. A gun is going that way, and I'm sorry if I'm rambling, but I'd rather learn my hardest to go against a knife than a gun. That's just my take on it. I just feel like, and people I'm sure are gonna come text me and message me, oh, you're crazy. Sure, I invite a gun to my face, and I ask them to blow the trigger. I don't ask them to do that, but I ask them. Let's put this into practice. A knife, bro, you could switch up. You could drop it, turn it. You could do that with a gun too, but it's not as practical. I just feel like if I really wanted to stab you, if you block with your left hand right now, right into the leg, versus a gun where it's like, at least I actually have to aim it at your face. All you have to do, He's redirecting. If people don't know what I did, I pointed my finger at him and he just dodged it. It's like, whoa, where'd you go?
Yeah, Matrix, you know?
It's just, all I think about is if you can control the weapon, you manage. But against a knife, it's crazy. I spoke way too long than I needed to.
It's all right.
How about you? Do you have anything on or no, not really? You don't have to say
On a
anything.
knife versus gun?
Yeah.
I think it depends on your mentality and the situation you're in.
Yeah.
Once again, obviously, if the knife is to your neck, you honestly, even if you turn your neck too quick, you might cut yourself.
Yeah.
But
Good point. Good point, man.
Basically, in a knife fight, you are going to get cut and you are probably going to get stabbed.
Yeah.
Hopefully not stabbed, but let's just say at the minimum, you are getting cut.
Yeah, you're probably gonna get cut.
What I've been taught is, or what I've, at least been told at certain points is just make sure nothing important gets cut. Protect everything that's vulnerable. So protect the neck, protect the inside of the legs,
brain,
obviously the groin, protect the wrists.
I don't want to get cut there.
So my instinct, as soon as I would see a knife, is going from palms out to palms in.
Yeah.
Why? Okay, he cuts the outside of my arm. I'm good.
He cuts the inside.
Once you get this, now you're bleeding out.
I think it's a 2-minute bleed out time for under the tricep.
Or under
if you get slashed.
Or the neck. So if I'm like this, I'm already limiting a few things. He cuts the outside of my arm, my shoulders, that's fine.
Yeah.
Unless he doesn't, obviously he could stab, right? He could stab in the hand, he could stab in there. But guess what? That's better than getting slashed and bleeding out. I'd rather get a stab. And preferably, if I get stabbed, I'd rather it stay inside me.
Yeah.
And get him away from me. Now he doesn't have the knife. I have it inside me. Let me go to the hospital and get it surgically removed. Because as soon as he pulls it out, now I'm bleeding out. Just the same as if I was to get slashed.
Yeah.
So if it's a knife fight, that's all right. If it's a gun fight, not saying I have a gun. I'm just saying, like, if the guy is going to pull the trigger, for me, it's a little scary because at that point, I feel like you do have to accept the idea of the worst case scenario.
Yeah.
And I don't need to explain what that would be.
Yeah, there's a lot
knows. But you have to be accepting, like, this is either going to go the worst way or it's not. And it's just 50-50. A knife fight, there is a lot more variables. Could be a lot more bloody, could be a lot more painful. And it might still be the same outcome as the 50-50 scenario.
Yeah.
But in my opinion, I think there's a little bit more of a chance with a knife as long as it's not pressed up against you.
Yeah.
If it's a threat from a distance, I'd rather take the knife over the gun.
You'd rather take the knife over the gun?
At a distance.
Yeah.
The gun, you can shoot from 20 feet away and still get hit. The knife,
yeah,
he
that's
could
a good
throw
point.
it. He could throw the knife. He could chase you. If you could catch me,
True.
There's other things. It really depends on the scenario. They're both equally as deadly in the right hands.
I'd rather just not go against a
Either.
gun. Either. I was going to say gun or a knife.
Let's not get
prefer
into
that.
the scenario, first of all, but
I will say this was a lot we talked about too.
Yeah,
That was like, it was nonstop. It was nonstop. And I think next week we can talk about what happens since we're on this topic, when is the right time to hit someone and when is the right time to subdue someone? You know what I mean? Like, next week we're going to be talking like scenarios like you're at a bar or you're outside or you're at someone's house, they're at your house, you're I don't know, in an incident on the highway. We're going to teach you guys a few things on how to de-escalate things, and if we've ever been in situations where we've had to talk our way out of things, just like actually you've said last podcast you had to talk your way out of things, because I want to hear some of that too next time, because I got some stuff I want to share. But this was episode 6 of the Let's Talk podcast. Thank you guys so much for being a part of this. Last podcast, we had a good amount of people that stopped in and were viewing. Listen, feedback is super important with these lights. I'll give you like one good view. We're probably going to change it up from time to time till we have like a more permanent thing. But as the summer gets closer, we're probably going to start expanding. We're probably going to move our spot somewhere else in a more open area. But we invite you guys again. We have a couch that's probably non-seeable, but it's right here and people can see it. I have a panda you guys can hang out with over here too. But this was Let's Talk episode 5. We invite. Actually, this is episode 6. Yeah, episode 6. Sorry about that. But yeah, if you guys want to be in the next podcast, reach out to us and we can talk about a few things if you guys have any questions for us, as well as we have questions for you. Hit us up on Instagram. I'm on Facebook and social media with YouTube, so go subscribe to that if you have not already. You're probably subscribed on here. But that's all I got to say. Thanks for tuning in with me and Javon. We'll see you guys next Friday, 6 p.m. Peace out, guys. Thank you so much.